Welcome back. One of the things that we're going to do is talk about some resources that are readily available, and those come in the form of books. Ainsley, would you like to start off with some of your favorite resource books?
Well, my favorite is The Spiral Dance by Starhawk. It's available just about anywhere. Another book that's really good for the beginner is Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner by Scott Cunningham. It's exceptionally easy to deal with and user-friendly. It's also the kind of book you can let your mom read if she's interested in finding out what you're getting into. Another good book, Drawing Down the Moon, gives a really good overview of different pagan groups all throughout the country. That's by Margot Adler. And anything by either Doreen Valiente or the Farrers is excellent reading.
Absolutely. We can recommend all of those very highly. We also have another personal favorite, and that's When, Why, If by Robin Wood. It was recently published. It's a wonderful book about the basics of the philosophy behind Wicca. And it's also a real good book for people that you know and love to read about what you're doing and where you're going. One of the things that recently happened is a young person that we know interviewed someone at one of the local stores and had the interview published in their high school newspaper. And it's turned out to be a very effective article. A lot of the folks on the newspaper staff had no idea what Wicca was about. It was an extremely informative article, and she had a really good time doing it. And I know that Magic Mirror in Milford had a wonderful time giving the interview also. Frank, what about you? What kind of books do you like to use?
Scott's books are good books. We've used Silver Broomstick by Silver Ravenwolf. There's been a lot of different things we've picked up. Pagan Path is a good one by the Farrars. Mostly Scott's books, though.
They're real good. They're real good beginning books. Once you start branching off into whatever path or tradition you've chosen, and you start to specialize in Celtic or Norse or the African Orishas, there are a whole lot of books in each of those sections that you can look to for information. In the Celtic tradition, Janet and Stuart Farrar and Gavin Bone certainly have a lot to offer. In the Norse tradition, Nigel Pennick has written a number of really good books. And as far as the African Orishas go, Louisa Tish and, the name of the author escapes me, but it's the Tarot of the African Orishas is a good resource book, whether you use the cards for divination or not. It's a really good resource book that gives a basic overview of the various African deities. Do you have a lot of folks coming into your store who are Santeria or Orisha practitioners?
I get a lot more Santerians than I do the Ifa Yoruban, but we do have some high priests and high priestesses of the direct African that come in, and they're absolutely charming people. It's really too bad that so many people find them so frightening. They usually have a really good sense of humor.
Yes, they do.
I would also suggest for the Norse, Freya Aswins leaves at Yggdrasil.
Yes,
it's one of my favorites, and oh goodness. Louisa Tish I definitely would recommend also, but there's another man who writes whose name is also escaping me.
Well, you know what? You can call the store and find out, because then Ainsley will be able to tell you and give you all that information directly.
No matter how brain dead I am, I can look it up on the counter.
There are a lot of real good stores in the area, and I think we should probably mention some of those, although Avalon is one of our personal favorites, but that's pretty much because we know the owner. Magic Mirror in Milford is a wonderful store. It's close to the Edge, and Milford is also a terrific resource place. There's another store in Danbury called Purple Moon, which has recently moved, but it's a tremendous resource. She has a lot of really good books, and Celia also teaches classes, which is a terrific place for folks up in that neck of the woods to get some information. Do you have anybody who has specifically looked for classes in a particular tradition ever come into the store?
I've had people asking about Gardnerian. And with Gardnerian Wicca, it's very traditional, and you're not really going to find somebody teaching without finding a coven first.
We're going to take a phone call, so I'm going to interrupt you. Hello, caller.
Yes, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Fine, thank you.
Yes, can you answer a question for me? How many African-American Wiccans are they? I'll hang up and listen.
How many, I'm sorry?
How many African-American Wiccans? We don't even know how many Wiccans there are. Most Wiccans are of European ancestry, but at the circles we have, we get about at least half a dozen, African Americans that are Wiccan or somehow involved with the occult that come to our circles.
And we also know of a number of African American folks who've come to Craftwise, not only Craftwise in the hotel, but also Craftwise in the Wood last year rather. You're right. I think your point, caller, is that there aren't a whole lot of folks out there, but mostly I believe African Americans follow the Ifa and Yoruban traditions or the Santeria traditions, and they are very active in that community.
Yeah, most of the African Americans that we meet that would come into my store, for example, Wicca is more of a European structure, so it may be a way to get in to make it a little more easy to understand. But once they get involved, they tend to go straight for the actual African roots. And we do have quite a few people that are involved with that. That will still hang out with us, and we hang out with them, and that's fine. We do our own thing; they do theirs.
Thank you very much, caller. Do we have another phone call? Hello.
Hello, I'm sorry I hung up the phone by accident. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned about Yoruba and the other form of African worshiping, because a lot of people look at Yoruba as being some form of voodoo. But I'm glad, because Yoruba is actually older than Wiccan if you study it.
Yes, it is, caller. You're absolutely right. And one of the things that those of us of European heritage are starting to do is look into these traditions and try to learn. That's the point. We all have to know what everybody else is doing so that we can work together and learn together. We may not want to follow your tradition, but we sure want to know what you're doing because we're interested.
Well, sometimes I say because some Europeans have stolen a lot of our African traditions, have they not?
Yes, they have. You're absolutely right. We prefer.
He's laughing, but it's true.
No,
you're absolutely right.
I'm not laughing at you. It's
no,
true.
and you're also correct because
Yoruba is very, very powerful. I know someone in New York who's a high priestess. They smoke the cigars and wear white, and it's a cleansing period, something similar.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I think that there are some Native Americans who would also share that point of view with you, that a lot of folks have, Caucasian folks have stolen Native American traditions, and they aren't really sure of what they're doing or how they're supposed to be doing things. And I think that's why it's really important for us to be able to share our traditions and share our heritages together and work together. I may not want to become a Yoruban high priestess. This little Irish kid knows where she belongs, but I sure enjoy talking about the African Orishas. I have a great deal of respect for their power and their primal energy.
A lot of Europeans make fun of Yoruba. They think it's like some voodoo or witch doctor nonsense, but it's a valid faith.
It's absolutely a valid space.
Well,
evidently you're very knowledgeable about it from what I gather from
Voodoo is also a valid faith. Voodoo is basically a mixture of the Yoruban with Catholicism, same as Santeria is. And it's also a very valid faith, and we have no right to make fun of them either.
Voodoo don't exist. That's a European term. It's Yoruba. That doesn't exist.
We know a lot of people in New Orleans that would probably disagree with you, but they call themselves Voodoo. But they know the roots are all into the Ifa and the Yoruban. They know that's where the roots are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. That was a wonderful caller. Thank you. We have known a number of folks who have worked in the Yoruban tradition and in some of the related traditions that are Caucasian and have been trained by Yoruban high priests and high priestesses and that. And it's a wonderful tradition to work. It's also very, very difficult and has a long training process involved in African Yoruba tradition. Now, Santeria is different in that it also combines some of the Catholic saints. To my understanding, I'm real ignorant about it, and I'm the first one to say that.
Okay, I'm not an expert either, but from what I understand, what happened is when people were forced into slavery, they were also forced to take on the religion of the slavers, which at the time was Catholicism. So in order to continue practicing their own faiths, what they did was they hid the names of their gods in the names of the saints. That's why Santa Barbara or Saint Barbara is actually the African god Chango, who's the Nigerian god of thunder. And some of these things might sound kind of silly, that this machismo god of thunder is hiding as a female goddess. But from what I've seen with the African traditions, they believe their gods and goddesses all have really great senses of humor, and this makes perfect sense to them. And how better to hide than in another gender, altogether. So
It's a very complex group of religions, and we certainly enjoy learning about it and talking about it. It's one of the opportunities at Craftwise. I'm sorry, I'm getting a signal, and I think that I think that we have a video coming up. Well, that was a look at some of the bumper stickers on the cars in the parking lot of the Danbury Hilton during Craftwise. Bill got out there real early one morning and had a wonderful time videotaping all of those wonderful bumper stickers. Now, our assignment during that segment was to choose our favorites. So, Ainsley, you go first.
Well, I have to say All Roads Lead to Avalon. It's my store bumper sticker. But I also like the Dance with Pan and Drink with Bacchus, and I've always liked the Darwin fish.
Those are really wonderful. That was a terrific segment. Honey, what about you?
I like the one that said "Woad happens." That's just that was really neat. That's
The Woad Warriors?
The Woad Warriors.
Yes,
yeah.
that's really good. I like that. I like that a lot.
It's a lot of work to get the Woad.
Yes, it is. It's an awful lot of work to get to Woad. One of my favorites, I'd have to say my favorite was the Marvin Martian one, but only because I know that came off of my car. And there will be a Martian altar set up at Craftwise in the Woods because we are very serious about this. But seriously, let's go Viking was a terrific bumper sticker. And the Curious Creatures, the one with the gecko, geckos are my favorite animals. Whoops, geckos are my favorite animals in the entire world. And I'd have to say that was a really terrific bumper sticker. Bill, you did a wonderful job. I can't believe the number of bumper stickers that he found, the variety of bumper stickers that we have in our community. Aside from bumper stickers, one of the things that we would also like to talk about is help in finding a teacher. This is a real common question, and I know a number of the young folks from UConn have asked that, not only of us over the internet, at Craftwise, over the phone after Craftwise. They're all real interested in finding someone in their area. And the Pagan Resources tape that was up earlier was a real good starting place. Do you have any other resources, any other places that they can look out on the web, any specific websites or anything that they can look at?
If you're looking for things having to do with Connecticut, I would suggest our website. It has everything that we've been able to find so far, which specifically deals with Connecticut. If you're looking outside of Connecticut, I would suggest The Witch's Voice as the most complete website out there for witches, and that's at www.witchvox.com. So it's fairly easy to access, and the people who run it are absolutely wonderful, laid-back, intelligent people. So you don't have to worry about contacting any Fruit Loops that way.
Yes, Fritz is a wonderful, wonderful young man, and he and his lady Ren have just moved to Florida. But they're still very active, and they've got that website up and running. Now, Ainsley, what is your website address?
Well, CWPN is www.anet.com/CWPN. That's how you would access it.
That's a long address.
It is. You can call Avalon. We'll let you know.
I know that the Craftwise website, which is going to be www.craftwise.com, should be up and running soon, probably this weekend. But it is under construction, and we're working very hard on it. And that is one of the things that we hope that folks have learned as far as Craftwise or any other event that happens goes. Register early. One of the things that happened at the hotel conference in Danbury was that the room sold out very, very quickly, and folks either had to commute or they had to stay at other hotels, which kind of cuts back on your fun a little bit when you want to stay up in the hotel all night and learn about drumming or attend rituals or just hang out and network and talk to people and share some of the things that you've learned over the day.
That also cuts back on the stress level for the organizers a little bit, to let them know that folks are actually coming to the event that they're running. If you register early, people know that they're going to have a good turnout and the event will be okay, and they can sit back and take a little bit of a breath.
Now, one of the things that I would like to finish up with, since I'm very surprised nobody called in and complained about our circle being so short, I really kind of thought we were going to get some complaints about that. But I know that, Ainsley, you work a little bit differently than we do, so can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Some people have called me the Grand High Episcopagan. We've gone as far as having fire eaters and belly dancers. Our circles tend to not run all that long, maybe 45 minutes, but we've had anywhere from 60 to a small circle to over 300 attending our circles. So I've always felt it's important to keep people from being bored.
Fire eaters will do that.
Yeah. We did the fire eaters once.
Didn't I hear something about the woods being set on fire?
Well, we forgot that it was a pine tree forest.
Oh.
So we had little tiny fires starting to go, and the whole circle had to stop so somebody could run out and stamp them all out before we could continue. So
remember, when you do your circle, be safe. That glass of water on the altar is not just to honor the water spirits. It's also a very useful tool. I know that we also, when we do the Craftwise Circle, we get a little bit more involved with some of the other things, like using salt and water to cleanse, or using sage or incense to walk the circle and also clear it of negativity. The important thing to know is that as long as it comes from your heart, it really doesn't matter what tools you use, whether you use an athame or a crystal or just your finger. You can sit in a chair and cast your circle. Close your eyes and visualize what you want to do, what you want to see, focus your energies, call the elements, talk to the Lord and the Lady, talk to the God and the Goddess, because they're there for you. We would like you to enjoy what you're doing, have a good time with your circles, because God and Goddess and the elements love laughter. Do they not love laughter?
Yes.
They love laughter. So if you make a mistake, it's okay. Although there are some ceremonial magicians who would probably argue the point with me. It's okay to make some mistakes. Just have fun, enjoy yourself, and keep learning. Keep going out, seeking people, go to the stores, take some classes, attend some events.
Read some books.
Read books.
The only thing that's going to make you look silly is if you run around saying you're a witch and can't even name one of the holidays. So read some books. Get some background information before you start practicing. Just a little, just to play it safe.
And one of the things that we would like to do is congratulate all the young people who, from UConn and from the other colleges, who were able to make it to Craftwise this year. One of the things that you folks out there should know is that this chartered organization actually got the University of Connecticut to pay for their registration fees, which is a real big step for not only the kids in this organization, but for what we do as a community. This is a really terrific thing that's happened, and we hope it's going to continue to happen across the country. In the last few minutes that we have, what we'd like to do is just very quickly review that Craftwise in the Woods will be happening July 7th through the 12th at the Brushwood Folklore Center. Our phone number is and we also have our website, which is and we look forward to hearing from you on the website. And we also want to remind you that Caduceus, the Healing Festival, is going to be happening September 4th through the 6th in Barnegat, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, New Jersey. And the phone number for that is area code ask for Reverend Colleen Rose. I don't call that number way too often, do I? No, I only have it pretty much memorized. It's going to be a wonderful event, and we will be there, and we look forward to seeing all of you there also. Hopefully you're going to be able to make it to Craftwise. And we have one last caller. Hello, caller.
Hi. I'd like to know if you would recommend any books by Jarena Dunwich.
Oh, absolutely. We'd absolutely recommend books by Jarena Dunwich. And as a matter of fact, Jarena, who was supposed to be at Craftwise this year, couldn't make it because she and her significant other have moved to Florida, and they're setting up their living space down there. Her significant other got a wonderful job offer that he simply couldn't refuse. And hopefully they'll be at Craftwise again next April. And when we do Craftwise in Florida again, they will certainly be there also. We'd like to thank all of you and say merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Thank you and good night.